Hello children, I hope you all are fine. Welcome back to my channel. From the previous video on the chapter The Little Girl written by Katherine Mansfield, I am sure you all have gathered knowledge about the author Katherine Mansfield. You came to know what the story is all about by reading the synopsis of the chapter, and you also came to know how apt the title The Little Girl is. In today's video, we will be doing the line-by-line explanation of the chapter. So, let us start with the line-by-line explanation. The Little Girl. To the little girl, he was a figure to be feared and avoided. Now here, the little girl means the main character of the story, that is Kezia. And he here refers to her father. So for Kezia, her father was a person to be feared and avoided. She always used to keep away from her father. Every morning before going to work, he came into her room and gave her a casual kiss, to which she responded with, "Goodbye, father." So every morning before going to work, Kezia's father used to come to her room and he used to plant a casual kiss on her forehead, to which she only replied, "Goodbye, father." And there was a glad sense of relief when she heard the noise of the carriage growing fainter and fainter down the long road. And she used to feel relief when she heard the noise of the carriage, of her father's carriage, growing weaker and weaker, as she realized that her father is going far away from the house. In the evening, when he came home, she stood near the staircase and heard his loud voice in the hall. So, in the evening when he used to return from work, she used to stand near the stairway, staircase means stairway, and she used to hear his loud voice. "Bring my tea into the drawing room. Hasn't the paper come yet? Mother, go and see if my paper's out there and bring me my slippers." So, as soon as his father used to come back from work, he used to shout. He used to shout for his tea, he used to shout for his papers, and also for his slippers. "Kezia," mother would call to her, and then her mother would call Kezia's name. "If you are a good girl, you can come down and take off father's boots." So, she used to tell Kezia that if you are a good girl, then go and help your father to take off his boots. Slowly the girl would slip down the stairs, more slowly still across the hall, and push open the drawing room door. So slowly, very slowly and unwillingly, she used to move towards the drawing room because she wanted to avoid her father. Okay? By that time, he had his spectacles on and looked at her over them in a way that was terrifying to the little girl. So by that time, when she used to reach the drawing room, her father used to look through her spectacles, means glasses, and that look was terrifying, was frightening for the little girl, for Kezia. "Well, Kezia, hurry up and pull off these boots and take them outside. Have you been a good girl today?" So, he asked her some questions. That is, "Have you been a good girl today?" And he even tells her to pull off his boots and to take them and keep them outside. When her father asked her that have you been a good girl? To which she replied, I don't know, father. That means she stammered. I don't know, father. But she should know whether she had been a good girl today or not. But she stammered and she said that she doesn't know. You don't know? If you stutter like that, mother will have to take you to the doctor. So he said that you don't know? You're stammering in front of me? If you stutter like that, mother will have to take you to the doctor. She never stuttered with other people, had quite given it up, but only with father, because then she was trying so hard to say the words properly. So by this line we came to know that, she only stammered, she only stuttered in front of her father. Otherwise, with other people she was fine. Why so? Because in front of her father she feels frightened, she feels nervous, and she tries hard to find the words, to utter those words properly. She's scared of her father. What's the matter? What are you looking so vexed about? So, he gets annoyed because he's talking to the little girl and the little girl is looking as if she's lost. He feels that something is wrong with the girl. And he asks her that why is she so unhappy? Wretched means unhappy. Mother, I wish you taught this child not to appear on the brink of suicide. And then he turns towards his mother and he tells her that, she should teach Kezia to behave in a better way. And she should not appear as if she's so unhappy that she's about to end her life. She's about to commit suicide. Here, Kezia, carry my teacup back to the table carefully. And then he orders her to take his teacup and ask her to place it back on the table. He is so big. His hands and his neck, especially his mouth when he yawned. Kezia gives us the description of her father. She's saying that he's so big. His hands, his neck, his mouth, especially when he yawns. Thinking about him alone was thinking about a giant. She compares her father with a giant. Do we ever, even in our wildest dream, think of comparing our father with a giant? No, right? A giant is a monster. We are afraid of it. For Kezia, her father is a giant. On Sunday afternoons, grandmother sent her down to the drawing room to have a nice talk with father and mother. But the little girl always found mother reading and father stretched out on the sofa, his handkerchief on his face, his feet on one of the best cushions, sleeping soundly and snoring. Every Sunday afternoon, grandmother used to send the little girl, that is Kezia, down to the drawing room to spend some time with her parents. But whenever the little girl, entered the drawing room, she always found her mother reading something and her father stretched out on the sofa. Stretched out means sleeping, with extended legs, and he has covered his face with a handkerchief and rested one of his feet on a comfortable cushion, and he's sleeping soundly, comfortably, and snoring, breathing noisily in sleep. So he's sleeping, he's having a sound sleep, and her mother is busy reading. The little girl felt neglected. Okay? Neither her mother nor her father gave time to her. She sat on a stool gravely, watched him until he woke and stretched and asked the time, then looked at her. And what she used to do all the time? She used to sit there on a stool and she used to gravely watch him. Gravely, seriously watch her father sleeping until and unless he would wake up and he would ask her the time. Don't stare so, Kezia. You look like a little brown owl. So, whenever she saw her father getting up, of course there was a sense of, terror, sense of nervousness in her. And she used to look at him, she used to gaze at him, she used to watch her father intently. And that made her father say that she looked like a little brown owl without any facial expression. One day, when she was kept indoors with a cold, her grandmother told her that father's birthday was next week and suggested she should make him a pin cushion for a gift out of a beautiful piece of yellow silk. So, one day she was not well and she was having a very bad cold, and that time her grandmother told her that her father's birthday was next week, so she should make something for her father. And what is that something? She asked her to make a pin cushion for a gift. Okay, you can see the image of the pin cushion here. She gave her a yellow silk cloth and she told her to make a pin cushion out of that yellow silk cloth. Pin cushion, a cushion for keeping pins. Laboriously, with a double cotton, the little girl stitched 3 sides. So with great difficulty, with great effort, out of love for her father, she stitched all the 3 sides of the pin cushion. And she kept one side open so that she can stuff something inside the cushion. But what to fill it with? But she couldn't find anything nearby her to fill the cushion. That was the question. So what she'll fill the cushion with? That was her question now. The grandmother was out in the garden and she wandered into mother's room to look for scraps. So what did she do? Since her grandmother was not there in the house, she was in the garden, that's why she went to her mother's room in search for some scraps. Scraps means small pieces, of cloth or paper. On the bed table, she discovered a great many sheets of fine paper, gathered them up, tore them into tiny pieces and stuffed her case, then sewed up the 4th side. What did she do? As soon as she entered, she was looking for scraps and suddenly on the table, she found some sheets of paper. Okay? She saw that, she took those and she tore them into tiny pieces, stuffed it inside the pin cushion and stitched it. She sealed the cushion from all the sides now. That night there was a hue and cry in the house. Hue and cry and angry protest in the house. Father's great speech for the Port Authority had been lost. Father had written a speech for the Port Authority, and that speech got misplaced. Rooms were searched, servants questioned, so everything was done. They searched all the rooms, the servants were questioned. Finally, mother came into Kezia's room, and at last mother came to Kezia's room to ask her whether she had seen the papers or not. Kezia, I suppose you didn't see some papers on a table in our room. So she asked Kezia that whether she had seen any papers on their table. Oh yes, she said, I tore them up for my surprise. And the innocent girl, without even thinking twice, she said the truth to her mother that yes, I tore them up for the surprise. I wanted to surprise father, so I tore them up and I've stuffed it in my cushion. What? Screamed mother. Come straight down to the dining room this instant. So mother was shocked. She said, right now you come to the dining room. And she was dragged down to where father was pacing to and fro, hands behind his back. And she was pulled down. Dragged down means pulled down. Where father was pacing, moving to and fro. To and fro means to and from, forward and backward. And his hands were behind his back. Well, he said sharply. Mother explained. He stopped and stared at the child. Did you do that? No, she whispered. So, mother explained father whatever had happened, and then her father asked her that did you do that? To which she just said no. Again she started stammering. Okay? Mother, go up to her room and fetch down that damn thing. See that the child's put to bed this instant. So, he orders his mother to go to Kezia's room and to get that thing, that pin cushion, that damn thing. Damn here stands for, that silly thing, okay, that stupid thing. And you bring it here. He wanted to see it, that what Kezia had done to his papers. And he also tells his mother to keep Kezia into her room, and she should not come out of her room. Trying too much to explain, she lay in the shadowed room watching the evening light make a sad little pattern on the floor. That night what she did, she was crying, okay, and she cried and cried and cried. She tried to explain, but nobody listened to her. Then father came into the room with a ruler in his hand. After that, what happened? Her father came into the room with a stick with a ruler. I'm going to beat you for this, he said. So, he came here to give her a punishment. Oh, no, she screamed, hiding under the bedclothes. Bedclothes means bed sheets. She was hiding. She was trying to, hide so that her father couldn't catch her. He pulled them aside. He just moved everything aside. Sit up, he ordered, and hold out your hands. You must be taught once and for all not to touch what does not belong to you. So, he ordered her to, hold out your hands, that is, stretch out her hands, because he wanted to teach her a lesson not to touch the things which does not belong to her. But it was for your birthday. So, the thing which I made, Dad, it was for your birthday. Her dad did not listen to her. Down came the ruler on her little pink palms. and she was punished. She was punished for her mistake. Hours later, when grandmother had wrapped her in a shawl and rocked her in the rocking chair, the child clung to her soft body. Hours later, when her grandmother came to her room to console her, she wrapped her in a shawl. She covered her with a shawl, and the little girl clung to her soft body. She caught her grandmother tightly. She was clinging. What did God make fathers for? She sobbed. And then she asked her grandmother a question. That why did God make fathers for? Her grandmother avoided the question. And she said, "Here's a clean hanky, darling. Blow your nose. Go to sleep, pet. You'll forget all about it in the morning." I tried to explain to father, but he was too upset to listen tonight. She said she gave her a clean handkerchief, and she said that, blow your nose and go off to sleep. Tomorrow morning, I'm sure you'll forget about it. I tried to explain your father whatever happened, why you did that, but he was too upset. He was too angry to hear me today. But the child never forgot. Her grandmother thought that she will forget about it tomorrow. But the child did not forget. The child did not forget the punishment which she got for touching the thing which does not belong to her. Next time she saw him, she quickly put both hands behind her back, and a red color flew into her cheeks. Whenever she saw her father, she hid her hands behind her back. Why? Because she remembered about the punishment that she got. She was beaten by her father on her pink palms. She tried to protect it. So she hid her hands behind her back. And a red color flew into her cheeks. And out of fear, she used to turn red. The McDonalds lived next door. The McDonalds are their neighbors, and they used to live beside them, beside their house. They had 5 children. Looking through a gap in the fence, the little girl saw them playing tag in the evening. She was looking at the McDonald's playing tag. Tag is a kind of a game. And Mr. McDonald was playing with his 5 children. Okay? And she was watching them playing through a gap in the fence. The father with the baby Mao on his shoulders, 2 little girls hanging onto his coat pockets, ran round and round the flower beds, shaking with laughter. Once she saw the boys turn the hose on him, and he tried to catch them laughing all the time. So, she saw Mr. McDonald playing with his 5 children. Baby Mao was on his shoulders. 2 little girls were hanging from his coat pockets, and she also saw his two boys shaking hose, turning the hose on him. What is a hose? A hose is a tube for directing water. It's a water pipe. Okay? And they all were enjoying. Then it was she decided there were different sorts of fathers. And at that time, she decided that, there are different kind of fathers in the world. She started comparing Mr. MacDonald with her father. Suddenly one day, mother became ill and she and grandmother went to hospital. One day what happened? Her mother fell ill, okay? And her grandmother had to take her mother to the hospital. The little girl was left alone in the house with Alice the cook. So she was kept alone in the house with Alice. And who is Alice? Alice is their cook. That was all right in the daytime. Everything was fine during the day. But while Alice was putting her to bed, she grew suddenly afraid. But during night, when Alice was trying to, putting her to bed, putting her to sleep, she suddenly grew afraid. She was frightened. What I'll do if I have a nightmare? She asked that what I'll do if I have a bad dream. I often have nightmares and then Granny takes me into her bed. I can't stay in the dark. It all gets whispery. She explained her fear. She said that, I often have nightmares and I often see horrible dreams. And then Granny takes me into her bed. I sleep with Granny because I can't stay in the dark. It all gets whispery. Whispery means, full of whispers. I can't shout. What I'll do if I have a nightmare? She's frightened. You'll just go to sleep, child, said Alice, pulling off her socks. And don't you scream and wake your poor pa. She tells her to sleep. And she also instructs her not to scream and wake her father. Poor pa, pa means father. But the same old nightmare came. But she again saw the same old nightmare. Same old nightmare. Nightmare means a horrible dream. And why same old? Maybe she has seen this dream. She has seen this dream quite often. Okay, she frequently dreamt of this dream. The butcher with a knife and a rope, who came nearer and nearer, smiling that dreadful smile, while she could not move, could only stand still, crying out, "Grandma, Grandma." And what dream did she see? She saw a butcher. Who's a butcher? A dealer of meat. He came near her with a knife and a rope. He was moving closer and closer towards Kezia with a dreadful smile, with a horrible smile. And she could not move. She only stand there. And she cried out to her grandmother. She woke up shivering to see father beside her bed, a candle in his hand. And then when she suddenly opened her eyes, she saw her father standing beside her bed with a candle in his hand. "What's the matter?" he said. He asked Kezia that what's the matter, why was she shouting? "Oh, a butcher, a knife, I want, Granny." Out of fear, she said, "A butcher, a knife, I want, Granny. Please bring, I want to go to Granny. I want to be with her." he blew out the candle, bent down, and caught up the child in his arms, carrying her along the passage to the big bedroom. What did her father do? Her father blew out the candle, extinguished the candle, bent down, he picked her up, and he carried her to his room, to the big bedroom. A newspaper was on the bed. So, when he heard Kezia shouting, maybe he was reading the newspaper. So, the newspaper was kept on the bed. He put away the paper. He kept the paper aside and then carefully tucked up the child. He laid Kezia on the bed. He lay down beside her and then he slept beside her. Then carefully tucked up the child. Tucked up, pulled the bedclothes up. He covered Kezia properly. He lay down beside her, half asleep still with the butcher's smile all about her it seemed. She crept close to him, snuggled her head under his arms, held tightly to his shirt. And that time she just closed her eyes and she could still think or dream about the butcher, about his smile. And so out of fear, she crept closer. She moved closer to her father. She got close to her. She got close to his arms. And he held his shirt tightly. Then the dark did not matter. She lay still. She was afraid. She was looking for protection. And that kind of protection she got when she held her father tightly. He knew her father would save her. So the dark did not matter now. Here, rub your feet against my leg and get them warm, said father. Father could, understand that, out of fear, her hands, her legs have turned cold. So he asked her to, rub her legs against, or to rub her feet against his legs and to get them warm. Tired out, he slept before the little girl. He was very tired. He worked all day, so he slept before the little girl. A funny feeling came over her. Now, Kezia had a very funny realization. Poor father, not so big after all. So now, she's thinking that, before this incident, she used to consider her father as a giant. But now she's saying that, my father is not so big. And with no one to look after him. Yeah? He's poor. She feels sorry for her father that nobody is there to look after him. He was harder than grandmother, but it was a nice hardness. His physique, he's comparing his physique with her grandmother's physique, and he's saying that, he's hard. He's not that soft like grandma. But this hardness is a nice hardness. It's good. every day he had to work and he was too tired to be Mr. MacDonald. She's explaining that, I used to feel that Mr. MacDonald is a very good father because every evening he plays with his children. But my father, he goes to work and he becomes too tired to be Mr. MacDonald, to play with me. She had torn up all his beautiful writings. And then she's even justifying that, that day I tore up his beautiful writings and that's why he gave me a punishment. She stirred suddenly and sighed. She moved and she took a deep breath. And once she took a deep breath, Father realized it. Father could sense it. "What's the matter?" asked her father. "Another dream?" So you see, his love, although he has kept his eyes closed, but still he could feel that something is wrong with his daughter. As soon as she took a deep breath, he asked her that whether she had seen another dream or not. "Oh," said the little girl, "my head's on your heart. I can hear it going." She said that, my head is on your heart and I can feel your heartbeat. "What a big heart you have got, Father dear. You have got a very big heart, Father." So, from Just Goodbye, Father, this is the first time that she is realizing her father's love. And that's why she started, expressing her love towards her father. Okay? With this, we complete this beautiful chapter and now we move on to the theme of the story. The Little Girl contains a beautiful message of life. The story is based on a young child's point of view about her father. Children have sensitive mind. Often their attitude towards their parents change as they grow up, when they start understanding their parents. So, parents need to show care and love towards their children, as harsh, strict and cruel behavior will only create a gap between them. It is important to correct them when they are wrong, without being harsh and cruel. Right values in children can be inculcated through love and affection. We have seen in the story that, when her father was harsh or rude to, Kezia, there was a gap between them. Okay, and the incident where her father had beaten her up for the mistake had actually alienated her more from her father. But that night, his care made Kezia realize that his father is not a bad person. Her father loves her. And she also started showing her love, her concern towards her father. Okay? Now let us just know a few meanings of some of the difficult words. Wretched means unhappy. Brink means edge. Stutter means stammer. Snoring means breathing noisily in sleep. Gravely means seriously. Stuffed means filled. Hue and cry means loud noise. Dragged means pulled. Pacing means moving. Sobbed means wept. Nightmare means horrible dream. Butcher means dealer of meat. Snuggled means got close. Stirred means moved. Clung means held tightly. With this, we complete the explanation of the chapter. Thank you. Please stay home and stay safe, and let us all join our hands to break the chain of corona. Thank you so much.